What an incredible day to be in the house of God. And I'm from Southern California, founder of South Hills Church. We have 12 locations. I don't do a lot of the day-to-day. Most of it's wrapped up in Churchboom. We rescue churches that are dying across America. America right now is closing 3 churches for every one that opens. When you think about that, we're going to have a chance to rescue them at the end. It's absolutely amazing. But before we do that, I believe in giving honor where honor is due. First of all, Pastor Mike and Mary are extremely good friends of mine. I love them. We are partnering together to rescue churches and change lives. We're going to be doing this for years to come because the bride of Christ deserves it. And we need to get the bride of Christ out of the emergency room in America. And we've been working on that. But I believe in giving honor where honor is due. Would you do me a favor? And because it is hard being a pastor. It's difficult at times, and they carry a burden that none of us will ever relate to. But would you do me a favor? More noise than you've made ever this morning or ever in church. Would you do me a favor? And let's give honor where honor is due, and let's show them how much we love Pastor Mike and Mary. Come on. Love them so much and so grateful for them. And if you got a Bible, go to Mark chapter 5. We'll jump into that in just a moment. Been married for almost 35 years, and we have 2 children. We have 3 grandchildren, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a newborn, and which is absolutely awesome. And we are a baseball family, meaning that we love baseball. Matter of fact, we love baseball so much, me and my son, we've been to all 30 major league stadiums. There's not a stadium we haven't been to, and we've been to all of them. We love baseball. When my son was born, actually when my wife was like, hey, we're gonna have a baby, and then we found out it was a boy, and I was praying this: God, make him a left-hander. If you know anything about baseball, being a lefty is a big deal. So I was praying, God, make him a lefty. This would be great. I need the money. Make him a lefty. And so, he's born, and he kind of growing up, age 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't really tell if he's a lefty because he would eat with his left hand and he'd use his right hand. And I'm assuming he's a righty, just like the rest of the family. But I can't really tell. So 4 years old, it was time to get him a glove. The Bible says, train your child in the ways they should go. So I got him a baseball glove. I'm following the Bible. I don't know about you folks. But so he's 4 years old, and I give him a glove. We go out in front yard. It's time to teach him how to catch the ball and then how to throw the ball. So my son, you catch the ball like this, and then you throw the ball like this and whatever. So we go through this little lesson. We go out in the front yard. I throw him a tennis ball. It bounces off the glove. He picks it up with his right hand for his first throw, and he goes like this. And I thought, oh, dear God, he can't throw. There's a problem here. And so then I tried it again and threw it to him, and he throws the ball like this. And I yelled out to my wife, there's a problem, just because maybe he was switched at birth. And he can't play baseball. We're a baseball family. So then I throw the ball to him a third time. It goes over his head. He throws the glove down, runs back to get the ball in the front yard, picks it up with his left hand. And before I could say, son, you got it in the wrong hand, he fires the ball at me with his left hand. And then all of a sudden, the clouds open up, and you could hear the angels. It was an amazing moment. And we realized he was left-handed. And so we got him into baseball right away. I mean, we play all year round in California because of the weather. And so he's playing baseball all year round. 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. And he's playing baseball. And he's doing extraordinary. He went on a run of 22 strikeouts over 4 games. And so I had a tattoo put on his arm that said 401k. I was thinking of my retirement. And so he's only a 7-year-old kid with a tattoo. And so so he comes home one day. He's 7 years old. I'm not home usually in the middle of the day, but I happen to be home on this day. He comes home, and he's waving a flyer, and he's like, Dad, and he runs towards me, Dad, 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 and I'm in the kitchen. I'm like, what? And he goes, I want to sign up for this. Please let me sign up. All my friends are signing up. Can I please sign up? And I said, okay, let me see it, and so I open up the little flyer, and it's a sign up for a soccer league. And I looked at my 7-year-old son. I said, son, we don't do that in this house. We're Christians, and we got to play baseball. But Dad, I want to play. All my friends are going to play. So he talks me into it. We sign him up for the soccer league. We get out there for opening day. You've been on the opening days. They take a little picture of the kid. They take a little group shot. They got a little banner. And I'm like, I don't know what our team's all about. So I go there and I show up. I don't know anything about soccer. And they got the little pictures and all the teams. And I'm walking and I'm looking at all the teams. And the little teams with the banner, and you got like the Bears, the Tigers, the Cougars, the Panthers, the Jaguars, and then you come to my son's team, and they're named the Bumblebees. Now, how do you have any confidence when you're named the Bumblebees? And they were horrible. They did not know how to play. None of them could play. They lost every game in the entire season. They didn't win one single game. And I'll never forget, the coach would always say, protect the territory. Whatever you do, protect the territory. If you're over here, you're at the goalie, you got to protect. Help me out. Come on. You got to protect the what? You got to protect the territory. But clearly they didn't listen, because we got to the last game of the season. We, the Bumblebees, were 0-15. The team we were playing was 15-0. We'd never won a game. They'd never lost a game. And I thought, this is going to be a bloodbath. And so we get out there and the game starts going. There's this little kid on the other team, a little Mexican kid. I don't speak Spanish. My wife's Mexican, but I don't speak Spanish. There's a little kid on the other team, little Mexican kid on the other team. And every time he got the ball, the dad on the other side would yell out these words in Spanish, which I didn't understand. But whatever he yelled, the kid would score every single time. He gets the ball, dad yells in Spanish, I'm on the other side, he scores. It's 1-0, 5-0, 12-0. 18, 19-0. We're losing 19-0 because of little Pele from the other team. And so they do the little bell, like, or whatever they do, it's halftime. And the other team is like, yeah, we're killing them 19-0. And here comes the Bumblebees for the little halftime huddle. And they're like, and their wings are all broken, but they want their Capri Sun and orange slices. How many know that Little League? I grew up, it was like, get out there, it's 180 degrees. But no, they got to dehydrate or hydrate or whatever. Anyway, so the coach is like, I'll never forget it. He's standing there going, you kids are doing great. He was Mr. Positive. Keep protecting your territory, but you're doing great. And I'm looking at the coach like, what game are you watching? They're horrible. And so they get back out there. Now it's 20-0, 25, 28, 29-0. 1 minute on the clock. The referee, 1 minute on the clock, and so, okay, we've got 1 minute. We're down 29-0. We haven't scored the whole game. The ball, with 1 minute on the clock, comes right here. I'm on the sideline. It comes right here. And here comes that little Pele kid from the other team. I'm going, here we go. And he comes rounding over to the ball, and he starts going the wrong way. And all of a sudden, the dad on the other side is yelling in Spanish, and he's got to be yelling, you're going the wrong way. But it occurs to me, I don't want him to hear his dad, because this is our only chance to score. If he doesn't score for us, we don't get on the board. And so he starts going the wrong way. Dad is yelling in Spanish the entire time. Whatever he's yelling, it's got to be you're going the wrong way. I don't want him to hear him. So as he goes down the sideline, I'm screaming at the kid the only Spanish words I know, trying to. I didn't want him to hear his dad. He scores for us. Our team picks him up on their shoulders. He's totally confused. And we lost the game 29-1. One from the kid on the other team. That's how bad we were. But the coach would always say, protect your territory. Now, if you think about it, if you're a sports person, everything's about protecting the territory. In soccer, in baseball, in football, basketball, hockey, whatever the sport is, there's a territory that you're made to protect. You got to protect the area that you're in. That's not only true in sports, it's true in war. War is always about territory. Now check this out, because one country will say to the other country, basically, we're going to fight you because we want your territory. Right? At the end of the day, that's what war is all about. We want your money, we want your resources, we want your territory. That is not only true in this physical world that we live in, it is also true in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is a battle that's always going on for mine and your territory. Now, what does your territory look like? Because we all have one. Here's a picture of your territory. It kind of looks like this, okay? That's you in the middle, all happy and smiling. Look how thin you are. You got a six-pack. It's amazing. Relationships, children, marriage, finances, career, spiritual life, or whatever else is in there. Maybe you're not married, but some of that represents you, your emotional health, your happiness, whatever. That's your territory. And there's this battle that's going on all the time between us and the enemy, who is always fighting for your territory. Now, in Mark chapter 5, we find one of the most incredible conversations between Jesus and this demon-possessed guy. Okay, now, it only happens a couple times throughout the Bible. The epitome of good versus evil. It's an incredible scene. Now, if for the next few minutes, you will lean in like you've never leaned in at church before. If you'll take notes, maybe you're like, I don't take notes. Take notes today. Lean in as much as you can. For the next few minutes, this conversation could change your entire life. I believe it with all of my heart. Let's look at the conversation in Mark chapter 5, verse 1. Here we go. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit, that's the dude that was demon-possessed, okay? He says he comes out from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs. No one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. This is an intense thing. Jesus tells the disciples, let's all get in a boat. We're going to go over to this area called Gerasenes. They row over there. This is how they rowed back then. And they rowed over there. Now they get there. Jesus gets out of the boat. See what that would look like in your mind's eye. He's walking on the sand and he meets a demon-possessed guy. And now there's this intense moment. We just kind of read it like, it's no big deal. Could you imagine if you were there? Like, this is going to be good. Jesus and a demon, this is going to be amazing. All right, check this out. Let's pick it up where we left off. Verse 6, when he saw Jesus from a distance, and he ran and he fell on his knees in front of him, and he shouted at the top of his voice, what do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, in God's name, don't torture me. Jesus walks up, demon-possessed guy walks up, and they have this conversation. And the demon-possessed guy's like, man, Jesus, you're the Son of the Most High God. Don't torture me. Now, up to this point, pay attention to this. You might be thinking in your mind, Jesus is having a conversation with a demon-possessed man. I would argue that Jesus is having a conversation with the demon. Why? Why at this point is he having a conversation? Because the demon-possessed guy goes, you're the Son of the Most High God. The disciples, Jesus' own followers didn't know he was the Son of the Most High God. If the disciples didn't know, how would this crazy guy know? Jesus wasn't having a conversation with the demon-possessed man. Jesus was having a conversation with the demon. Now this thing gets even higher. Now we're talking Jesus and the enemy. This is an enormous scene. Now, look at this. Now, I love humor. Maybe you won't find the humor in this. I think it's funny. Look at the next verse. Jesus says this, for Jesus said to him, come out of this man, you impure spirit. Now, we read that and go, Jesus said, come out of this man, you impure spirit. We read it in this monotone voice, but you got to know it's intense. Go back. It's not like Jesus going, you come on out. You got to imagine that Jesus, with the strength, of his lungs, he's like, get out, just like it's an intense moment. Get out of this man. It's an intense moment. So look at it. Jesus says with intensity, come out of this man, you impure spirit. Now, this part cracks me up. Then Jesus said, oh, by the way, what's your name? Now, that's funny to me. Like, what an odd thing to say. Like, get out of this man. Oh, by the way, what's your name? This is so funny to me in the middle of this moment. Now, here's the interesting thing. Jesus knows all things, so he knows the man's name. If he knows the man's name, why would he ask, what is your name? Because in 2025 in Washington, at Restore City, he wanted us to know what the name was. There was a point to the name. Jesus knew the name. Why ask the man? Okay, there's a point to it. He says, my name, help me out everybody in the house. My name is what? Legion, he replied, for we are many. Now, if you're taking notes, legion is a Roman Empire term meaning 6,000 or more. So Jesus says, what's your name? He already knew the name. He wanted us to know the name. He says, well, my name is Legion because there's 6,000 of us inside of this man. 6,000 inside of one man. This is an intense moment. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay, look at the final verse, and this is probably the most important part. And he begged Jesus, help me out, again and what? And, come on, help me out, you guys. He begged Jesus again and Again, awesome. He begged Jesus again and again. I'm like, he was relentless on it. He begged Jesus again and again not to send him out of the area. And another word for area is what? Territory. Now, here's what's interesting. This is fascinating to me, okay? Really fascinating. So Jesus walks up and says, hey, get out of this man. Tells the demon. The demon's like, fine, no problem, but please let me stay in his territory. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I'll leave the man, but can I stay in his territory? Okay, that's what the enemy does to us. He's not so concerned with us. He's concerned with everything inside of your territory. Okay, put it on the screen for me, and here's the reality. The enemy wasn't concerned with leaving the man. The enemy was concerned with leaving the territory. Okay, the enemy's not so concerned with you, but he's messing with your marriage, your territory. He's messing with your finances. He's messing with your happiness. He's messing with your kids. He's messing with your grandkids. He's messing with your relationships. He's messing with your future. He's messing with your career. Jesus said, get out of the man. And the enemy's like, fine, I'll get out. But can I please? I beg you again and again. Can I stay in the territory? The enemy wasn't concerned with leaving the man. The enemy was concerned with leaving the territory. And he does the same thing with you and I. He's always concerned with you and I and leaving the territory. That's why some of us in here have children that aren't serving God, or grandkids that aren't serving God, or finances that are messed up, because he's always coming after the territory. I do a lot of flying, about 170, 180 flights a year. So that's a lot of flying. Okay, and my wife cracks up when she goes with me because she always says, man, you're the most nervous person on the plane. With all the flying you do, you think you wouldn't be nervous. But how many have ever been on a plane before? Let me see. Okay, what's the last thing you see before you get on the plane? The word terminal. You ever thought about that? Like, why do they call it terminal? It may as well say you're gonna die. And so, but that's what they say. So I get on a plane, I'm there at the airport, I'm always the most nervous. A while back, it's a Southwest Airlines flight. Southwest is not reserved seating. It's a free-for-all. When you get on there, you got to pick your own seat. I was one of the last to get on, meaning I had to sit in the middle. I hate sitting in the middle. But I had to sit in the middle. I finally find a seat. Next to me at the window is a lady that's maybe 100 pounds, real small lady, and she's reading a book. That's who you want to sit next to. Very calm to themselves. On the other side was this monster of a man. He's probably 6'5", 6'6". I don't know how he fit in the chair. Probably 300 pounds. He looked like a linebacker, just a big old dude. He's like that, and his head's way up here. And we're sitting there, and he's bleeding over to my side. He's so big, and I think about $60 worth. And he was coming over to my side. And so the lady, the phone rings. He picks up the phone while the people are, and he's on the phone. And starts talking to whoever he's talking to. And then the flight attendant comes by and says, sir, you got to get off the phone. He goes, yeah, he was kind of rude, but whatever. Everything's closed up. We're pulling back from the terminal. And he's still on the phone. And the flight attendant comes by a second time. Sir, you've got to get off the phone. He goes, yeah, I'll get off the phone. Just leave me alone. Rude as ever. And I just thought, this is going to get good. So I look for the peanuts, get the whole thing going. So then, third time, now we're out on the runway. We're about to take off. He's still on the phone. He does not hang up. She comes by and says, sir, you got to get off the phone now. Hang up the phone. We're on the runway. And he puts the phone down like this, and he looks up at her, big old dude, and he says, I'll get off the phone when I want to, and then starts cussing her out. Every imaginable horrible word that you could degrade a woman with, this guy was doing it. And he was letting her have it. And she was trying to kind of fight back, but he was just letting her have it. And it was getting worse and worse. And I'm sitting in the middle seat, and I turn around like, someone's got to get involved. Someone bigger than me. I don't want to get crushed into a fine powder. And so he's just letting her have it like that. And so finally, I step in. I'm in the middle seat, sitting right next to him. I look at him. His head's way up here. I'm like, dude, can't you be nice? He looked down at me. He goes, what did you say to me? And I said, do you have any ice? You have to be quick. Come up with something fat. When your life's on the line, you're very creative. Finally, we take off. He gets off the phone or whatever. Now, have you ever been on a flight? We were in the rain. Rain means it kind of shakes a little bit. Then you got to go through the clouds. You actually have to go through the storm, and then you get above to the blue sky. If you ever been on a plane, that's how it works. Raining, then you go through the clouds, then you get above. And I'm telling you, I've been on literally thousands of flights. It was shaky here. Then we got into this spot right here in the storm. And it was shaky as get out. And everybody tightens up their seatbelt because, that'll make a difference from 30,000 feet in the air. And it starts shaking like this, and it's going crazy like this. And I'm just freaking out like, this is that, just yelling stuff out. And then all of a sudden, for about 5 to 7 minutes, you're going through, and then all of a sudden, boom, you pop up above the storm. And it's blue skies and peace and calm. I think there's some of us in here, man, we're in that middle of that storm where the enemy's fighting to take your kids, fighting to take your grandkids, fighting to take your marriage, fighting to take your finances, your career, your happiness, your emotional health. He's coming after all of that. And sometimes we kind of just give in and we just kind of accept the way it is. But let me tell you something, you cannot change what you choose to tolerate. You got to at some point say, I am not accepting this anymore. And you kind of fight back and you go right through. And if you hang in there and you don't give up and you keep fighting for whatever it is that's in your territory, you'll eventually rise above and you'll see the blue skies. But you got to keep on fighting and you can't give up. Now, let me give you the second thing real quick. The enemy doesn't just fight you for where you are. Put it on the screen for me. He fights you for where you're going. This is probably my favorite part of the whole thing, Pastor Mike. I love this part. He doesn't just, the territory you have right now, he's fighting for that, but he doesn't just fight you for where you are. He fights you for where you're going because he sees your potential. He sees what you could do. There are authors in here that have not written the book yet. There are people in here that are called to compose songs, start businesses, do amazing things for God, and we haven't done those things. We don't do those things because maybe we get insecure, maybe we're fearful, maybe we're doubtful, maybe we whatever it is. Maybe we don't do it because of other people's opinions. Isn't that true? People will always tear you down to a level that's comfortable for themselves. You know why they do that? Because your desire for excellence threatens their mediocrity. But we give up in the middle of that. He doesn't just fight you for where you are. He fights you for where you're going. Think back for a moment. The demon, Jesus says, and what is your name? The demon says, my name is what? Legion. For watch this, there's 6,000 of us in here. Stop and think about this. What was this man's potential that the enemy thought, I got to put 6,000 in this one? What was he going to do? What was he going to become? What difference in the world was he going to make? But the enemy thought, I got to take care of this right now. How about when Jesus was born? The enemy orchestrates with Herod, and what do? They kill all the male babies under the age 2 because the enemy looked over at baby Jesus and said, I know what he's going to become, and I'm going to take care of that problem right now. Let's go to the Old Testament when Moses is born. And then the enemy orchestrates with the leader at the time, Pharaoh, and they have all the babies, once again, under the age 2 years old, killed. Why? Because the enemy looks over at Moses and says, oh, I know what this boy's going to become, and I'm going to take care of that problem right now. I think of my friend Vivian, who was 15 years old and in juvenile hall and pregnant. Everybody told her, abort the baby, abort, abort, abort. You can't give the baby a future, just get rid of the baby. She decided not to get rid of the baby. She had the baby in juvenile hall, got out of juvenile hall, married the man that got her pregnant. They're still married today. They named that little boy Hector. Hector right now is preaching in Sacramento, California at his church of 1,500 people. I think of my own life. When I was 2 years old, I'm the youngest of 5. I grew up in Long Beach, California. I was born in Long Beach, California. Born in Long Beach Memorial Hospital. Same place where Tiger Woods was born, different financial outcome. And so I'm 2 years old, the youngest of 5. In the middle of July on a hot day across the street, apparently, I don't remember it, but apparently there was some birthday party going on and everybody was invited and they have a built-in pool, which was a big deal back then. And everybody goes swimming and having a great time. I'm 2 years old, I'm sure, running around in my diapers on a hot July day. Then all of a sudden, the ice cream man comes. You can hear the music. How do you remember the ice cream man? That was the dude that was half selling ice cream and half on drugs. You know who he is. You want a snow cone, kids? And so then everybody runs out to the ice cream man because the ice cream man's there. My mom runs on this side of the house to the front yard. My dad runs on this side of the house to the front yard. Both of them think they have me. Everybody leaves, and I'm the only one left in the backyard at 2 years old. I fall into the pool, into the deep end. I'm at the bottom of the drain. My sister comes back 10 years old at the time, grabs her towel, the only reason I'm alive. She grabs her towel, looks back, and sees me at the bottom and dives in and saves me. See how the Holy Spirit's moving? It's all happening right here. She saves my life. She's been reminding me every day since. I got a text before the service, just says, I saved you. And but I'm not any more special than anybody in this room, so when I say this, I'm not meaning that way, but I just wonder if the enemy looked at the bottom of the pool, saw a 2-year-old boy about to die and say, I'm going to take care of that problem right now because I see what he's going to do. Some of you in here, it's a miracle you made it past birth. You almost died. Some of you barely made it past your childhood. Some of you barely made it past your teenage years. You had a dad that did this or a mom that did that. Some of you barely made it. It's a miracle you're even here because of the things you went through as an adult. And I just think of this. I just think the enemy's always trying to get us because he sees our potential. He sees more in us than we see in ourselves. You ever thought about that? Someone stands on this side and going, you don't understand the abuse I went through. That's not fair. What happened when I grew up? What about the abuse? What about the abandonment? What about the affair? What about this? What about this? All this pain. And I'm just thinking maybe a different perspective is, wow, what does the enemy think your potential is? He keeps trying to take you out. This is pretty big that he's trying to take you out. He sees something in you. And here's the thing, man. Let's go back to those territories. Look at the first one. There's that territory. There's you. Relationship, marriage, spiritual life, career, whatever. That's your territory. Okay, that's you. But look at this next one if we could. On one side that's the one we already looked at in the blue. But look at the one in the red. Your future territory. The success you're meant to have. The business idea that could finance this church and finance the world that you're meant to have. How about the kingdom impact God wants you in this church to have? How about the influence that God wants you to gain? The book you're supposed to write. How about the churches that we're going to rescue here in just a couple minutes all across the nation? We're all going to help out and do that. That's what the future is. He doesn't not just concerned about your territory. He's concerned about your future territory. He sees what you could become. He sees what you could do, and it scares him. What is the answer to all of this? The answer is very simple. It comes down to 2 words. Put it on the screen for me. You got to fight back. On the count of 3, I want you to yell it out loud. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What do you got to do? Fight back. You got to fight back, man. You got to get into the ring and just say, enemy, get your hands off my kids. No little light prayers. Let's get a little bit. Get your hands off. It's like when someone cuts you off on the road. That anger. I saw some of you in the parking lot, very non-Christian. And but you got that fight back spirit, like get your hands off my kids, get your hands off my grandkids, get your hands off my money, get your hands off my finances, get your hands off my job, get your hands off my future, get your hands off my dreams. Get your hands off. You got to fight back. Can't change what you choose to tolerate. You got to fight back. Now, what I'm fighting back for in my own personal life is different than what you're fighting for, or what you're fighting for, or what Pastor Mike's fighting for. We all got different things going on. But there is a territory that we all share. There's a territory. I got to take care of my territory. You got to take care of yours. But there is a territory we all share, and not one of us is excused from it. And it's the territory called the United States of America. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of older, people maybe 50 and over would say, America's not the same place it was 20 years ago. How many admit it's not the same place it was 20 months ago? It's like common sense has become a superpower. Some of you will get that at lunchtime. And but it's just like some crazy stuff. The answer isn't the government. I don't care who you make the president of the United States. That is not the answer. The answer is Jesus, and the answer that he uses is the local church. I just told you earlier, we're now at an all-time high in America, the highest we've ever been. America's now closing 3 churches for every one that opens. The average church attendance from America used to be 127. It's dropped all the way down to 60. America's closing between 150 to 200 churches per Sunday. That means today, 150 to 200 churches are having their final service. About 4 or 5 years ago, I felt like God just kind of woke in my heart to it. And he said, Chris, this is what's happening. The bride of Christ, which is the local church, is in the emergency room in America, and we got to get it out. Now, this is a healthy church because you have amazing pastors, but this is not normal. And what do we do about that? So I got a bunch of guys together in about 15 guys in Dallas, Texas. We all flew in. All these guys have big old churches. I said, look, all you got big churches, we could all just go back to our local church and I run mine, you run yours, and see you in heaven. But we have a problem. Not Chris Sonksen, not Pastor Mike. We have a problem. Revelation requires responsibility, meaning when your eyes are open to something, you're now responsible for that something. We have a major problem. And so I said, look, we gotta help churches. And then I just told them, I go, what if we created something, Churchboom created something called Church Rescue, kind of like Bar Rescue. It was funny, because I said that to the pastors in the room. They're like, oh, we've never watched that before. I'm like, you liars. And we fast on that night. No, you don't. And I said, what if we just call it Church Rescue? And we take all these churches that are about to die, 20 people, 40 people, 50 people, they're gonna die. What if we coach them for a year? We'll pay the coaches, but what if we just coach them for free for a year? And then what if they need emergency funding and we can just write them $10,000, $20,000 checks? We've written $20,000 check to Oklahoma recently, $30,000 to Florida. We are helping churches all across the world, but primarily in our nation. Then what if we coach them, we give them finances, we give them resources, and then what if we send them on a 4-day soul care retreat? And all those pastors come together in the Smoky Mountains and we do a top-notch resort. And they're like, this sounds great. How are we gonna pay for it? The 15 guys in the room, I'm like, I don't know. But what an idea. And I just thought, well, what if we get business people, which we have, and a lot of churches across the nation that are healthy, what if we get the healthy churches to help the unhealthy churches? That seems like what Jesus would do. Because I can tell you this, I know Pastor Mike well enough to know this. He doesn't just care about the church, he cares about the church all across this nation. So, what have we been doing for the last 4 or 5 years? We've been fighting like crazy. Getting churches into these groups, putting them in that are dying, and bring them back to life. We're not talking about 20 or 30. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of churches that we've rescued all across this nation, where they're going on retreats, the pastor is, they're getting all the help that they need. And we've been doing that for the last few years, and God is doing extraordinary things. Now, I wanna show you a video, but before I do, could you quickly grab your phone? Grab your phone. That's the thing you've been acting like you're taking notes on, but you're texting. Grab that quickly. Don't act like I don't know the difference. I can see it. There's a QR code. This book is 11 stories from 11 rescued pastors. Each pastor wrote a chapter about how they got rescued. Basically, it's a book saying thank you for rescuing us. I don't know if we'd be even a church if you guys didn't step in. It's a big old thank you is what it is. I want to give you that book for free. The digital copy is for free. You can buy it. It'll tell you how to do that if you want to buy it. You don't have to, whatever. But the digital is what's there for free. I want to give you that as a gift to say thank you right now, Restore City Church, for restoring not only lost people in Moses Lake, but restoring churches all across America. Thank you for doing that. I want to show you a video of a church just outside of Detroit, Michigan. That church came to us. They needed to be rescued. Got down to about 40 people. They went through the program. We started helping them. We sent them. We did everything we did with the pastor. That church went from 40 to 80 to 120 to last week 240. It's not dying anymore. And we've done that all across the nation because of amazing people like you. I want you to check out this video. This is living proof. Rescued churches will rescue people. And I believe rescued churches will rescue America. Thank you so much, Restore City, for coming to the rescue. Check out this video.
So my wife and I really felt called and compelled to plant a life-giving church in an area of Southwest Michigan. It was a place that most people would not be running to plant a church. It was a pretty depressed community, but the call was really so strong. We knew that this is where God was leading us. But not too long from the time we launched, we started realizing that we really didn't know what we were doing. We came into this thing with the passion, but we didn't literally come with a really healthy plan. And ultimately, it was putting a strain on our relationship as a couple. And we were at a point where we're saying, maybe it's just time to throw in the towel. My wife and I really prayed for some sort of intervention, something that could step in and help us go from where we were to where we believe that God could lead us. And that's when we were introduced to Churchboom. Through Churchboom, we were able to get a coach who worked with us one-on-one. Plenty of times I was able to bring my team into it, and he was able to coach our entire team. We were able to develop some systems that would bring us back to health. There were some processes that we were missing in how we ran the church operationally, and even really some ways that I was not pastoring effectively. Our coach really walked us through that journey of getting the church back healthy. If you want to know what a rescued pastor, a rescued church looks like, you are looking at it. There was a woman who walked into the door because she was looking for a church in the community. And at her baptism a few weeks later, she shows up with her husband, her son, a few family members there as well too. And when she went down into the water, something happened in that room. Not only was she baptized, but her daughter was baptized. Her husband, who had no intention of ever being part of a church, was baptized. Her son was baptized. Her brother-in-law was baptized. The entire family was baptized that day. And that's what a rescue church looks like. A church that is seeing new life born because of the generosity of your gifts. So thank you so much for being a part of what Churchboom is doing through your giving. It is literally rescuing not only churches, but it's rescuing lives.